Good evening.
This is meditation for Gayle.
Sorry, just have a quick change here. Good evening. Hi, everybody. The cat's wandering in on the screen now. Good to see some of you here already. Just to reiterate, if you haven't read, that we're going to be using some props tonight in the form of what you may have easily around your house. So my suggestion is a couple of pillows. So fairly firm ones, if you've got them, if you're lucky enough to have some bulky ones, go for those ones, or you could just grab extra ones. Or of course, if you have a bolster and you've used a bolster in the studio with me before, then you're welcome to use that as instead or as well, whatever works best for you this evening. Blanket as well for relaxation, especially. And great. So good to see a few people already arrived. Just check the usual sound okay. Any thumbs up? Give me a thumbs up, or let me know if you can't hear me. Looks good from what I can tell. Worth double checking though. I'll just give you a few moments to set up in case you haven't got, oh yeah, thank you, Denise. In case you haven't got your equipment as well. I wasn't sure if everyone had read that part of the instructions for tonight. I thought it's worth using some of the easily, readily available props around the house. And I'm actually going to do another video. Thank you, Pamela. Hi. Another video in the next few days with some suggestions of how and what you can use for alternate props. Hi, Michelle. If you don't have the props that we use in the studio, so if you don't have blocks and if you don't have a belt and things like that, it's not rocket science, but I just thought it might be useful for some of you who want to explore this kind of practice a little bit more. Great to see a few more people joining in now. Okay. So certainly, look, if you've arrived a little bit late, take your time. We're going to start off with a nice relaxing posture, and we're going to be there for a little while anyway, so you can catch up and get yourself settled in your own time anyway. I'm just going to put a bit of music on. I'm not actually 100% sure how effective that is in terms of whether you can even hear it in the background, but I'll put it on anyway, and we'll just see what happens. Just check I've got the right one here. Yes. Okay. Let me know if you have any feedback about the music. Maybe it's not even audible. I'm not 100% sure. Great. Good to see a lot of you tonight. So obviously it's Good Friday, whether that means something to you but something to you or not. But I just thought this would make it a slightly better Friday or a great Friday if you need a little bit of chill out time tonight. So we're going to use either your bolster or you can join me. I'm going to use the pillows tonight. And we're going to take the blanket, maybe. These are options that you can decide that are going to work for you. So I'm going to use a blanket instead of a block. So we sometimes use blocks. And we're going to angle your pillows or your bolster or both. Why not luxuriate in all of your props? If you have extra, go for it. So we've got a slight angle. Now, it's not going to feel exactly the same way that a bolster would be. It's not as firm or as supportive. But it might be quite nice, though, in its own right. So I was practicing this earlier and it felt quite cozy and comfortable. Okay, so what we're going to do is sit on the floor, just directly in front of your pillow. If you come to my classes, you will know this. You'll be familiar with the shape. It's a reclined butterfly posture. So we're slightly angled, right? Maybe not as much as you would be if you had your bolster. But we've got a slight angle and we're feeling that the pillows are supporting the upper body. I'll start off with the feet as wide as the mat, the heels forward, and then resting your arms out slightly to the side. Turn the palms upwards and then allow the knees to drop inwards. Allow the knees to drop in. Just checking the messages there. Okay, so feet wide, just to recap, feet wide, knees together or knocking inwards to relax towards each other. You can let the two legs rest then, and the palms towards the sky with a slight angle on your pillows. So I've actually got a blanket underneath the pillows here. Settle in, close the eyes, relax your face. Let the head rest, let the chest gently open. So a slight sense of opening as your arms drape off the side of your pillows. Let the pelvis feel heavy, and then resting down through your feet and your knees, your legs. And allowing the sensation of the breath to come forth. As you gently rest back. So all the places where the body rests on the mat, including the head actually as well, and the shoulders, but allowing all the places of contact to gently release down, so releasing heavier into the earth. And giving yourself permission to rest and maybe become still, or gradually allow stillness to move into the body. So giving yourself permission to rest. And feeling that the earth underneath you is your support. So the earth holding you. And the earth encouraging you to gently release and rest. Let's take 3 big breaths in through the nose. So slow, long, full inhale through the nose, all the way to the top of your breath, and then release out with a sigh. And again, when you're ready, so begin to fill up the breath, full inhale, all the way to the top. And allowing the breath to move back to its regular breathing pattern. Notice the challenge or the ease at which you experience stillness in the body this evening. But of course, as you notice that, be kind to yourself. If it's tricky tonight, if it's hard to stay still, it really doesn't matter. But I just wanted you to notice what you find. Notice what you find. Okay, we're going to change the legs, but stay with the upper body exactly the same. And so instead of knees together, feet wide, we're going to go feet together and knees wide. But as you open the knees, allow the soles of the feet to turn towards each other. So you're on the outside edges of your feet. The outside edges of the feet are on the mat. The soles of the feet face each other, and then the knees relaxing wide. This can be quite a challenge for lots of people, of course, around your thighs and around your inner groin. So do your best to settle in. Don't feel you have to force the knees wide, but instead allowing them to open to the extent that feels useful. Begin to notice your breath down towards the lower abdomen. And your breath right down to the front of the pelvis as well. Notice if you can feel the movement of the breath really low tonight. So low to pelvis, maybe even the groin as well. You might even be able to feel the breath right down into the upper thighs, inner upper thighs, perhaps. See what happens. And so the trick with this style yoga, if you like, the trick or the challenge, is to encourage the body to relax despite that discomfort. Notice I said discomfort, not pain. So can you stay with the discomfort and relax as much as you can? Usually the two are opposing actions. Usually when we're challenged or uncomfortable, we don't want to stay there. We certainly don't really want to relax there. And so this is placing us in a position of perhaps slight insecurity, especially this kind of posture, the torso and the legs open. And despite that, I'm encouraging you to relax. But again, let's just see what happens. See what happens here. So the breath moving low, moving slow. Okay. So we're going to begin to gradually move. And so you're going to move your arms eventually anyway. So you might want to shift the arms initially. And then we're going to stay on our back actually, but we're going to shift the legs quite a lot. Okay, it's going to create quite a different sensation. When you're moving into the next posture, which might not be familiar actually, even if you practice with me, because I've not really created this shape in exactly the same way in a class before, but it's something I've been practicing the last few days. It feels so good in my hips, so I wanted to share it with you. We're going to stay on our backs. We're going to stay with the pelvis flat on the mat, and you're trying to keep your pelvis as even or level as you can. So without contorting yourself to the point where you feel like you're twisting, what I'd like you to do is explore moving the legs in this way. And so you're going to bring the legs slightly closer together just to help you move now. So you're bringing your right heel towards the lower part or underneath your left thigh, should I say. So your right heel underneath your left thigh. I was going to say underneath the buttock, but if you can't get your heel all the way to the buttock, that doesn't matter. You're going to bring the heel under the left thigh or closer up to the hip if you're able to. And as you do this, you're on the outer edge of the right foot. Let the right knee move wide. This is where you want to make sure you're not overly twisting your pelvis or spine. Okay, so your right leg is sort of resting, almost like half cross-legged position on the right side. The right knee is moved wide. It might go low. It might be higher up for some of you here. Okay, this is the more of the challenge here, is to now bring your left knee, lifting your left foot from the floor, bring the left knee in towards your chest. I like to use the two hands around my left shin, or you can hold the back of your left thigh. And double check again the pelvis. If you've twisted, see if you can even yourself out. Holding the left leg with support from your hands, from your arms, the effort of the hands here. But otherwise, your legs are heavy, your legs are relaxed. The left leg might not move in that close towards your pelvis, towards your abdomen or pelvis, but do your best to maintain a slight drawing in action on the left side. Your right knee is out there forward. Maybe close your eyes again, settle back. Steady breaths, breathing down, noticing the breath low in the abdomen, the pelvis, maybe the thigh. Of course, if I was in the same room as you, I would be gauging how this was felt. I would be trying to figure out how this is feeling for you, and I would work out whether or not we need to take a rest at this point, or whether or not everyone seemed quite happy. So, of course, your decision here, purely based on how it feels. If you need to stop, please do so. The discomfort doesn't have to tip over to the point where it's so intense that actually it doesn't feel that useful, okay? So gently opening the body without forcing or without feeling that it's an endurance. Let's take a few more breaths if you're still with me. Okay, and then we'll gently begin to release. And when you move, if you haven't moved up until now, take your time to gently ease, to bring the feet flat to the floor, relax around your hips. Let's take a little pause of stillness where you can release the intense sensation. And then we'll begin to set up the second side. And so your left heel comes across slightly, sits underneath your right thigh or closer up towards the right buttock. If you're able to bring it closer towards your pelvis, you can do that, not essential. You're on the outside edge of that left foot, and the left knee moves wide and low. It doesn't have to be on the floor, and certainly that can be quite intense for that to happen, so I wouldn't expect it. Again, check the pelvis. It's as level as you can create or maintain, and the spine is not twisted. There are some postures where we do lots of twisting with the spine, and this isn't necessarily one of them, but it doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. If it happens to manifest in the body that way, that's fine, but just notice what's going on and see if you can work with the hips a little bit more here. So your left knee wide, your left foot just underneath the right thigh, and then of course you're bringing your right knee in. Second side, holding the right leg, supporting the leg as comfortable as you can, given the circumstances, given the shape that we're creating here. Support the leg with a firm grip with the hands. If it's easier or more comfortable, use the back of the hands behind the back of the leg. Otherwise, try and stay soft around your shoulders, around your neck and head. And then let the legs relax. So the effort here is with the hand, but the legs themselves can gently relax into this shape. Like I said, I haven't taught this posture in a class setting before. It's something very similar, but not the same. I'm not saying I invented this posture, but it's something that I've just put together myself. So I'd like to, if you've got any ideas of what we could call this posture, or maybe it's a name evoked by the sensation. Always happy to hear suggestions. I think it feels quite nice. Notice your breath as you settle in. Again, if you feel that you've had enough for this posture, feels quite intense to hold any longer, becomes too much, of course, you can stop at any point. Now we'll slowly begin to release, taking your time to bring both feet back to the mat, flat to the floor, and then rest around your hips and your legs, pelvis. Okay, and so from here, whatever works best. If you want to roll over to one side, you can do it. Slowly bringing yourself all the way up. Okay. So the next posture will be a seated posture. And you might want your pillows again or your bolster if you have it, but they're not essential and you can choose what works best for you. To sit, we're going to prop the hips up a little bit. I've got my nice wool blanket here. I'm going to lift the hips a little bit higher than where my legs will be. Makes it a little bit more restful around the hip joints. And we're going to have the soles of the feet together, actually in a similar shape to the way we were at the beginning of our laid down posture. I'm facing forward. You can face the long edge of your, you can face the length of your mat still if it's easier. The heels are away from the pelvis, so they're not too close to your hips. It makes it a little bit more restful around the inner thigh and also for your ankles and knees. The feet are close together, if not touching. Don't worry if they're not completely flat. So if your knees allow them, your hips allow your knees to go wider, you might find the soles of the feet also move away from each other. You want to stay steady on that prop on your blanket, and you can begin to fold forward. A folding action might not look exactly like the description. It might mean for some of you that you're more upright than you are down. If you're lucky enough to get low in any form might be gently supported with your pillows. And if your head still doesn't come down to the support, you can use your elbows on the support and support your head with your hands. It's not important how low you're going down. What is important is to stay comfortable around your pelvis, into the seat of the posture, and relax into the form that you've created rather than the one you would like to attain. So it's being comfortable mentally with the shape that your body is allowing you to move to this evening, rather than the one that you would prefer the body to look like, or maybe may prefer the body to look like. Notice how you relate to the shape or form of your posture and how that makes you feel. And releasing tension physically whilst you're in this form can allow you to become more comfortable, not just physically, right, but mentally okay, mentally satisfied with the form just as much as your physical ability to soften the muscles. And so with whatever position you're in, encourage the breath to stay steady, the breath to stay calm, the breath to stay slow.
So let's stay here for another 10 breaths or so. That's quite a long time. So
feel like there's no rush in this posture. Forward folds are so cleansing for our nervous system.
and then in your own time, beginning to gently rise from the folded position. So take your time to slowly begin to sit upright again. Okay. So no props needed actually for the next posture. And facing forward as you were already, begin to move to lay on your front. So all the way over onto your front. Try and get yourself in a position where you can keep your elbows on the mat. Mainly for comfort, of course. If you're lucky enough, you might be able to get feet and elbows on. Elbows are underneath the shoulders, directly under both back and forth and side to side. So the weight rests in your elbows and your forearms. And the hands are forward, and you can have them palms down, palms up, or some people like to interlace. It sometimes does feel a little bit more restful actually to interlace the fingers, but really go with what feels comfortable for yourself here. The legs are out behind. Relax as much as you can. Relax your buttocks, hips, pelvis. The spine is naturally extended towards the upper body here. The upper body slightly forward. And at this point, we're going to keep the head balanced, actually. So keep although the eyes might be closed, as if the gaze was forward with the head slightly upright, almost upright. Now, if you're sensitive in the lower back, then certainly see how this feels. Don't hold it any longer than feels comfortable for you. When you need to exit, the best thing to do is to lower yourself down onto your chest so elbows can come wide and forward. But otherwise, if you're happy, I know some of you practice this with me quite a lot, it does take a bit of familiarity with this posture to become comfortable with the sensations. And the great thing about being prone or being in this face down position, one of the things I enjoy about this posture is the fact that I can feel my abdomen and pelvis, front of the pelvis, clearly on the mat. And I can feel the breath there. I can feel the way the breath moves down. I can feel that feedback, if you like, from the mat, the floor, into the body. So noticing that for yourself. And so feeling the movement of the breath. Keep checking in with the legs, the buttocks. Try to ensure that they're maintaining a relaxed state. It's strange how sometimes the body wants to contract as a response to the the intensity of a posture. So notice if you might not be aware until you check back and realize actually maybe the thighs have contracted, or maybe the hips have contracted. And so can you release, or keep releasing when you realize that's happening for you? Again, don't feel like you have to hold this posture any longer than your body needs. Feel free to rest when you need to. And then we'll begin to gently ease down to the mat. So begin to move your elbows wider and forward so that you can allow as much of your chest to rest on the mat. Rest the head and relax down the legs and into the lower back. Notice the breath around the lower back area, the base of your ribs, that soft fleshy area, the base of the ribs before the pelvis, just around where the kidneys lie, the back of the body. Feeling the breath expand and contract. And then we're going to release from here. So take your time. Slowly move up onto your hands and knees. So bringing yourself to a tabletop position. Just plug my mic back onto my waistband. Your hands are forward. You might want to use your pillows or bolster for this posture, so have those handy or close by. And we're going to move into sleeping swan. In Yin we call it sleeping swan, which is otherwise known as pigeon if you know your hatha yoga names. The right knee between the hands, step the knee forward to the space between where the hands were, so quite far forward. And then what might not be as clear actually on the screen as I was hoping, but try to bring your right foot forward of your left thigh. The further you go forward, the more intense this is in the right hip or buttock. Having it quite far forward usually means you need to be fairly flexible to do that. So it's not for everybody. So see how it feels for you. Check that the right knee is happy throughout this whole posture. If it doesn't feel good, then what you can do is sit onto your right buttock as this alternative to swan posture. So this would be like a deer posture kind of shape. That can be a nice way to fold. So check the right knee. If you're happy with the knee, it feels good, tuck the left back toes, walk the knee back so you can lower your pelvis towards the mat. So allow your hips to drop down. And then you can relax around the back toes, the foot, folding over your right leg. Try to level out the pelvis parallel to the mat. And you can either stay on your forearms here, or this is where you can embrace the pillows. Any way that works for you, actually. And you can use them as for a bit of padding for comfort around the upper body. Again, don't feel like you have to be low down. Some people find it's naturally more restful as you lower down, but it certainly doesn't mean you have to force yourself there if it doesn't feel simple for you to do. So to me, this is one of the shapes that we can create in the body, which is the opposite of all of the sitting that I've been doing, if you've been doing lots of sitting. So you might feel this quite intensely around the back of your pelvis, hip, right buttock, more specifically. And so this is the antidote to a chair-shaped posture. Again, keep in mind that if this posture builds to quite a lot of sensation, don't feel you have to stay in it. A lot of these postures take a little bit of practice to get the knack of getting comfortable enough to be able to stay there or rest there. And so if this is your first time with these postures, or with the postures for this length of time, then don't feel that you're doing it wrong just because it doesn't feel that restful. It certainly takes a bit of practice in working out how you can position the body in order to make them more restful. And then gently counting yourself through, passing of another 3 to 5 breaths anywhere there that feels useful. And in order to release from here, you probably need to put a little bit more weight into your hands in order to be able to free up the front leg. So press into your hands, press into the back knee, and then pull that right leg back. Take some time to allow the leg to adjust, the hip to adjust. You might want to move around, you might want to stay still. You can take any other form or stretch any way that feels a good way to release the body. So one suggestion which I'm doing here is to tuck the right toes under now and straighten the leg out behind. It's a big deep bend in the right knee, and so it might feel quite nice to do the opposite. Certainly up to you. See how the body feels with what we've offered it this evening. We're going to begin to slowly set up the second side. So from that tabletop position, the left knee forward between the hands. Remember to bring it all the way forward. And you can't see on the screen, but you're bringing that left foot forward of the right thigh. So bring it forward of the back thigh. Check for comfort around the knee. Tuck the back toes. Walk the right leg, back knee out behind in order to lower the pelvis towards the mat. And then again, you can fold upper body lower. You can use your props, your blankets, bolsters, whatever you have at your disposal and comfort. And then settle yourself in. Just to recap, if you find it's uncomfortable on the left side or if the left knee is not happy, you can sit onto the left side of the hip, which would be less weight into the left knee joint. So instead of sitting square or parallel to the mat, you can tip the weight over to one side, and that still actually is a great stretch, and it's a very similar stretch to the pigeon or swan anyway. It's maybe slightly less intense around the left buttock, but it's still a great stretch if your legs are not happy with the first option. Otherwise, if you're in swan, your hips, pelvis parallel, facing the mat. And then settling in. And Yin Yoga tends to have this quality, it kind of sneaks up on you. It's a relaxing class. I'm encouraging you to relax and breathe in a relaxed way. But it adds these sneaky postures of deep stretches actually perhaps the body's not aware is going to happen. And quite often I would say this in a class, that the posture, we feel better after the posture than when we're in the posture. So it has this profound effect, fairly deep stretches or deep sensation, which is why I think people really enjoy yin. It feels easy to come to the class, so it's easy to step up to the mat because it's not overly challenging physically. It's not overly challenging mentally. You don't have to motivate yourself that much. And then you get the hidden extras of these deep stretches through being fairly passive, right? So it's the bonus of some deep stretches without too much effort to get there. Let's stay here for another 3 or 5 breaths, somewhere around there. Don't feel there's a rush to finish. Slowly begin to release, taking your time to move, pressing into your hands, free up the front leg. Again, you might want to move, you might want to stay still, let the sensation pass, or work with opening out that left knee, left leg as you straighten it. Perhaps okay, so let's release here. Take your time to join in. But what we're going to do is sit roughly with the pelvis in the middle of your mats. All your props handy. You can choose how many you use or what you use, and you can decide according to how it feels when you lay back. Here, I'm going to lay down on the back. So flat to the floor with the head and the chest and the feet. Initially, the feet on the floor. So my pillows are quite squishy here, so they look quite high, but actually there's not much depth, there's not much resistance to them once I've got my weight on them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the 2 pillows. You can start off with 1 or 2. You can do this actually without any props underneath your hips if you find it doesn't work. But we're going to stack up the pillows and let the pelvis rest. The pillows are quite big, so plenty of space for you to rest your pelvis, and you can gently support your lower back as well, which is quite nice. If you like a little bit more height, which would be more representative of how my hips would feel if I had a bolster, you could potentially use your blanket as well, just to say that you can go higher. It looks quite high, but when my weight's on it, it isn't really that high. And you might find a similar experience for yourself. So you can have a little bit of height under your hips. You can go less if it's too much for your spine. Notice that when you do that, a bit of weight moves to your shoulders. So check that the neck is happy. The neck is extended, head is resting directly on the mat. And then the arms just out to the side, just out actually away from your pillows or your bolster, so they can relax in their own entity, in their own space. Shoulders towards the mat, palms towards the sky. And then either stay with the feet flat to the floor, the knees bent, or you can extend your legs out in front, the feet forward, heels can go forward. But as you do that, know that, of course, when your legs go straighter, that you have more arch in your lower back area, and that might not be appropriate for all of you. So if it's too intense, you can bring the feet back to the floor. You might also find that your legs, if you extend them out, they don't actually go straight. You might find they can't go straight, and that would be normal. That would be quite typical of tightness around your hips, your thighs, and into your psoas muscle as well, which sits at the anterior part of the spine, deep in the body. But whatever happens here, check that it feels comfortable enough to stay in, comfortable enough shape to stay in, or comfortable enough for you to relax here. You can always change position after a short while. So this is like a little bit of a stretch for around the lower back, but also around the front of your abdomen and the front of your thighs. What's also really great here is to complement this stretch with your breath. And so as we have from the start of the session, I want you to bring your attention down to your lower belly, your pelvis, and see if you can begin to feel the breath low down, maybe even the thighs again. So relaxing as much as you can and allowing the breath to travel down. Let's stay here for another 3 to 5 breaths. Take your time and gently begin to bend your knees if you haven't already. Gently press into the feet, no rush, but gently move the supports from underneath your pelvis. Lower the pelvis directly back onto the mat. Draw the knees into your chest as you lift both feet from the floor. Hook the legs in close. And gently begin to rock side to side. Slow, gentle movement. Pressing the lower back, the back of the pelvis into the mat as you move. Rocking around the lower spine and the sacrum. And again, there's this gentle action to calm the nervous system. So a lot of the postures this evening have been fairly big, strong stretches around the hips and pelvis, with the added bonus of actively working with your nervous system to help it to move to a slower pace, if you like. Moving into a more calmer state. Tapping into the nervous system from the postures. And hopefully allowing a calmer, more relaxed being. Okay. We're beginning to finish the practice now, and the final posture, as we always do, is relaxation. And so when you're ready, begin to lay out. You can keep your knees bent if your back needs a little bit more support after that last long big stretch, feel free to keep the knees bent, feet wide, knees together, or you can lay flat with your heels forward. This is where, of course, you can use your blanket over you now. If you wanted to use your blanket over you, you can use your pillow under your head. So go for total comfort, and the comfort of your own home, your own space. Maybe you can, depending on where you are, if you maybe want to dim your lights, settle yourself back. Check for your comfort, releasing your arms from your shoulder joints down to your hands and fingers, and releasing your legs from your hip joints right down the legs to your feet and toes, of course, relaxing the full length of all of your limbs. The head is gently resting back, and the neck is assisting the head to release. And you're relaxing across your face, relaxing the forehead. Feel that you can relax the muscles that sit just beneath the eyebrows and the muscles around the eye sockets. With the eyelids closed, check that they're gently closed, so there's no squeezing of the lids together. And so a softness, smoothness across the lids. Feel the top lid gently touch the bottom lid. Relaxing around the cheeks and the cheekbones. Relaxing the muscles that sit around the outer part of the mouth. And then the lips themselves. So the muscles around the mouth and the lips, where the lips can now gently rest and become still. If it's natural for you to allow the lips to close as you rest, notice where the top lip rests and touches with the bottom lip. Relaxing the jawbone, the chin, and to the joint each side of the jaw. Relaxing the joints. Release any clenching of the teeth or tension around the back of the mouth. Tracing down the neck, down the shoulders. Reiterate an awareness down your arms and down into your hands. Let the hands feel heavy. Allow the fingers to curl naturally. Noticing not just the fingers, but the spaces between each of the fingers, so they have their own space to rest. And notice the back of your upper chest. Allow the ribs to gently release and relax wider, longer. Relax the waist, lower back, the abdomen, back of the pelvis, the front of the pelvis, the front and back of your thighs, your knees. Relaxing right down the legs to your lower legs, the ankles, and allowing the feet to rest. Soft down to the feet. And just like the fingers, allow the toes to relax, each of the toes taking up their own space If there's spaces between the toes, great, go for that. Allow the toes to feel wide from moving away from each other without any effort. And notice that space between each toe and every toe. An awareness of the spaces between the toes. And feeling the whole body relax. The whole body is rested. The whole body is calm. The whole body at peace. The whole body at peace. The whole body at peace. Beginning to bring your awareness gently back in. Notice all the points of contact where the body rests on the mat. Notice the weight of the body. In particular, notice the weight of the limbs and the weight of your head. Begin to send your awareness now down to your feet. Notice the soles of the feet and toes again. Notice the hands and the fingers. And noticing your breath. So as your awareness begins to surface, feel the rise of the breath in the front side of the body. Allow the ribs and chest, the heart, to take up a little bit more space as the breath begins to expand. Maybe feeling that freedom of movement, the freedom of the breath, the ease at which the body is hopefully breathing now, in comparison to when we started, perhaps. The freedom of space, the freedom of calm, the freedom of peace, the body. Now we'll begin to gently move. Begin to move the fingers and the toes. Begin to wake yourself gradually in your own time. You might like to stretch out now. You might want to draw your knees in and or stretch, both maybe. Take your time to wake yourself fully. And from here, taking a side lying position, so whatever side feels easiest to move to, rolling over. Pause on that side. And then slowly begin to bring yourself up. And so I want to say thank you for your practice, as always, whether it's in person or virtually in this way, as we must do it this time. Thank you, as always. Have a great evening. Namaste.